When you inherit a box of old jewelry, the instinct is immediate. You pull out the gold,
You set aside the diamonds and sweep the dull plastics and gaudy rhinestones straight into the donation box. In doing so, you might throw away several $1,000s. We judge these old pieces by modern aesthetic standards. If something looks like a dime store novelty from 70 years ago, we assume it's worthless. But the collectors who buy in this market do not care how these items look on a contemporary lapel. They are paying for very specific historical markers and craftsmanship, hiding in what looks like absolute trash. Your personal taste is a poor predictor of a piece's market value. If you rely on what looks nice today, you will miss the specific design details that collectors actually compete for. Look at this return on investment matrix. The input side requires you to flip the piece over to check for microscopic hallmarks. This 5-second inspection connects you directly to the outcome, collectors willing to pay thousands purely for that specific maker's mark. Spending 5 seconds to check for these obscure markers is your only defense against handing over a significant profit to someone else. Let's start with the base materials. The moment most people lay eyes on old plastic or cloudy glass beads, they write the item off entirely. If you find chunky, scuffed-up plastic bangles from the 1920s through the 40s, rub the piece hard with your thumb. When it gets warm, smell it. A sharp whiff of formaldehyde means you are holding genuine Bakelite. Color dictates the price. A common butterscotch bangle brings around $50, but rare, deep cobalt blues or rich purples sell for 3 to 5 times that, while a single strand of cherry red Bakelite beads has crossed $4,000 at auction. The deception happens with faux pearls, too. Miriam Haskell necklaces were built entirely from glass beads and fake pearls. People take one look, decide it's fake, and bin it. But the value lives in the hand wiring, where every single bead is individually attached with unmatched artistry. Haskell rarely signed her work. The genuine pieces worth the most money, often $700 or more, are the exact ones people feel confident calling worthless because they lack a stamp. You see the same error with shell cameos. A molded plastic reproduction isn't worth the box it came in, but a genuine hand-carved hardstone cameo featuring a mythological scene easily commands 4 figures. Hold the piece up to the light. Genuine craftsmanship has a sculptural depth and shadow you can see immediately. Then check the frame for a 15-karat gold mark to confirm its origin. Authentic material engineering and hand craftsmanship completely override the perceived cheapness of the base components. Now pull out the blindingly bright, over-the-top rhinestone clips that look like generic thrift store junk. Turn every old sparkling brooch over. You are looking for a tiny crown stamped right above the letter T. That is the crown Trifari mark, and collectors pay massive premiums for that signature alone. Trifari's lead designer came directly from Van Cleef & Arpels. Their craftsmanship was so respected, Mamie Eisenhower wore their pieces to her husband's inauguration. Eisenberg clips operate on the same logic. They use genuine high-clarity crystals. Pieces marked Eisenberg Original without the word ice are the oldest and most valuable. One novelty clip sold for over $1,600, even with the enamel actively chipping off. Albert Weiss took cartoonish holiday designs like snowflake brooches and elevated them using Austrian crystals and the iridescent Aurora Borealis coating developed with Dior. A complete signed Weiss set regularly brings over $1,000. Even whimsical items, like Hattie Carnegie's enamel animal pins, command thousands. She dressed Hollywood royalty, and her quirky lions and turtles feature proper gold-tone mesh and personalities that machine production cannot replicate. Extreme gaudiness was a deliberate design choice. The original designers executed these pieces with top-tier materials, successfully masking luxury pedigrees as costume jewelry. Finally, we need to talk about the pieces people aggressively throw away because they look broken, feel too heavy, or make them genuinely uncomfortable. If you find a brooch that snaps apart into 2 separate clips, do not assume it's broken. That snap-apart mechanism is the whole charm of a Coro duet. Read the mark carefully. If it says Vendome, you are holding their upgraded, highly valuable tier. Then there is Victorian mourning jewelry. These are black jet brooches and items woven from the actual hair of someone who passed away. Queen Victoria herself turned this into a flourishing industry after Prince Albert died. Today, casual sellers practically press these pieces into a dealer's hands to get them out of the house. That squeamishness keeps demand soft, creating opportunities for collectors who will pay over $1,000 for a woven hair brooch in a gold frame. The final expensive mistake is heavily dated Mexican silver jewelry. Sellers frequently hand these to scrap buyers and get paid by the gram, walking away feeling smart. Before you melt it down, check for the eagle mark or a specific silversmith name like William Spratling or Antonio Pineda. A Spratling cuff bracelet might bring $40 in scrap weight, but the clear maker's mark pushes its auction value past $3,000. Pushing past your own discomfort and taking the time to inspect the mechanics and marks separates informed sellers from those who literally scrap fine art. To make this actionable, look at this chart. We are mapping the effort it takes to identify a piece on the bottom axis against its potential financial return on the side. The top left is your high leverage zone, low effort, high return. Turning over a gaudy brooch to find a Crown Trifari stamp, or checking a Coro Duet to see if it snaps apart, takes 2 seconds and can yield hundreds or thousands of dollars. Moving further right, we hit high effort, high return. You have to physically rub and smell unmarked bakelite, or research specific Mexican silversmiths to prevent melting down a Spratling cuff for scrap. The highest premiums in the vintage market are paid exclusively for the unseen details and history that the casual observer ignores. If you are an overwhelmed inheritor staring at a giant box of jewelry, ignore the base materials entirely. Stop judging the plastic and the glass. Focus solely on finding hidden stamps on the backs of frames and the tiny metal tags near the clasps. If you are sourcing to flip, target the bright, the heavy, and the morbid. Look for the exact items others are too embarrassed or unsettled to touch. A strict verify before discarding protocol is your ultimate protection against losing a significant profit. To identify these hidden valuation markers properly, you need the right reference points. I put together the Jeweler's Dirty Secret Guide to break down the exact hallmarks and quality indicators professional jewelers use. Click the link in the description to get it right now. Do not sell a single piece by the gram, and do not throw away a single ugly brooch until you flip it over. Transforming what looks like trash into a substantial profit takes exactly 5 seconds of informed inspection.